Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for making the time to join us in this webinar as we commemorate 30 years of Lewa Wildlife Conservancy. My name is Joy Dinda, and I'll be your moderator for today. As more people come in, I'd like to start with a few housekeeping rules. Firstly, this webinar is being recorded, and we'll share it with those who are here and those who will not make it in the course of next week. Secondly, we will have a question and answer session at the end, 15 minutes. So feel free to type in your questions in the chat or in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Now I will go straight to introducing my speakers for today. I'll start with the gentleman on my immediate right, Mr. Adrian Paul. Adrian Paul is our Chief of Conservancy, and in this role, he oversees the department's key in protecting our landscape and our wildlife. That is the Security Department, Conservation and Wildlife, as well as operations. Before stepping into the role of Chief of Conservancy, Adrian was an integral part of the Lewa team for 18 years as the head of operations, and he brings with him a great understanding of our mission, our landscape, but also the collaborative spirit that defines Lewa. Welcome, Adrian.
Good evening, everybody.
And next to Adrian is John Kinoti. John is our Chief Programs and Partnerships Officer. He has worked for Lewa Wildlife Conservancy since 2003. And in that time, he has steered the expansion of Lewa's community development programs that includes water access, sustainable agriculture, women, micro enterprise, healthcare, and many, many more. And these programs collectively benefit 60,000 people in our contiguous communities each year. Welcome, John.
Hello, everyone.
And next to John is our CEO, Mike Watson. Mike has been on Lewa for more than 2 decades now, and he has been CEO since 2011. During his tenure, Mike has been very instrumental in working with the Kenyan government and its agencies to garner support for community-led conservation as a successful model for protection of wildlife, as well as for improving livelihoods for the people who live alongside it. He has also spearheaded a project called Lewa Milele. Milele is Swahili for forever. And this project has made Lewa the first private land holding in Kenya legally secured for wildlife protection and community benefit forever. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Joy. Evening, everyone.
And to kickstart our discussion, I'd like to hand it over to Adrian to dive into the updates and achievements from his departments. But before he does that, Adrian, this is your first year as Chief of Conservancy. How has it been? How have you fitted in?
Thank you, Joy. Ever since I was a young boy, I wanted to be a game warden. Like icons David Sheldrick and Bill Woodley. And now that I'm Chief of Conservancy for Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, I reckon my dreams have come true. The first 6 months have been nothing short of exciting. There's never a dull moment on Lewa, but due to the incredible team I have behind me, I believe that I have transitioned seamlessly into the new role.
Wow, that is inspiring, Adrian, and I'm glad you were able to work your way up to your dreams. Now, over to the highlights from your departments for 2025.
Yeah, on the conservation side, we have just picked out a few highlights. If we picked out all the highlights of the year, we'd be here all night. It has been an incredible year for us. We have recorded record number rhino births. We've had 35 births this year, 16 black and 19 white rhino. Like I said, it's the best year ever, and we haven't even come to the end yet. There are a few individuals that we believe might give birth before the end of the year. So it'll take it even more. And that leads us to the next one with rhino, the next highlight, which is rhino translocations. Lewa is a big supporter of Kenya's national strategy in increasing rhino range and numbers by 2030. Just this year alone, we've translocated 15 rhino, 9 black rhino to Segera, and 6 white rhino to Loisaba. Segera, like Loisaba last year, hasn't seen rhino probably for 50 to 60 years. So it's an incredible move, and hopefully something that will continue under the Kenya rhino rangeland expansion, and Lewa is a big part of it. Another big project was rhino notching. We ear notch all our rhino so that they're easily identifiable. And this year in one project, we did 56, 17 black and 29 white, with the help of Kenya Wildlife Service. We also ear tagged 9 rhino for the ease of monitoring. In conservation, you win some and you lose some, and we lost an iconic rhino this year, Songare, who's 46 years old, sorry. She was an incredible rhino. She gave birth to 14 calves and became a grandmother to 22. And her bloodline is now woven throughout the Lewa Brana population. So an incredible rhino. On other wildlife other than rhino, we had the World Migratory Bird Day, which is an eBird count over 12 hours globally around the world. It was well supported by Lewa. We had probably 6 or 7 teams out there. And because of that, we managed to get 277 out of our 502 bird species that we've counted over the years. And Lewa was top in Kenya, which we're very proud of. And Kenya was top in Africa and number 9 in the world. We also were a big part of the National Pancake Tortoise Recovery Strategy, which was launched in May this year, together with our partners, Kenya Wildlife Services, Museums of Kenya, and the Turtle Survival Alliance. Pancake tortoise is endangered. So hopefully with the awareness now, we will continue to build up the numbers. We then move on to securing landscapes. Obviously, you have to have, or we have to have, an incredible security team, which we do. We've got armed security and general security. They do an incredible job. Some big highlights of this year is technology. We're moving leaps and bounds into technology. We've got an incredible drone team who are on call 24 hours. We've done some amazing things with the drone team. We've got cameras on our northern boundary, which bring us live footage into our Jock and Ops room. And this all feeds into Earth Ranger. We have an incredible relationship with Earth Ranger, which I'll talk about in a minute. Human-wildlife coexistence. Some highlights on there. We've introduced community ambassadors in the hotspots, in areas which are prone to human-wildlife conflict, whether it's from elephant or baboons and monkeys, especially on our eastern and southwestern boundaries. We have a full-on human-wildlife conflict team, but basically the ambassadors are the link between the communities and our team, reporting in any incidences, any needs, in very quick time so that we can help and do what we can. Also, Earth Ranger technology is incredible. We're building up a real database of human-wildlife conflicts incidences. Also carried out some very important ranger training. One in particular, Kessel, which is not far from here. It's leadership, adventure and leadership training that we had with our commanders. And we've had 3 or 4 other trainings throughout the year. Training is very, very important throughout the year in, year out. And because of all this, we had 0 poaching for the 6th year in a row, and 0% proportion of illegally killed elephants, which we're very proud of. And it's basically continual monitoring, patrolling that allows this. On the operations side, over the past years, through its 4 subunits, workshop, works, stores, and fencing, has continued to enhance efficiency and uphold the Conservancy's high operational standards. I believe that the operations department is the heartbeat of Lewa. Without the operations department, all the other departments wouldn't be able to exist. It's often forgotten about, but it really is an incredible department. And to come to our workshop to see what goes on in there is quite an eye-opener. So if you're ever on Lewa, please come and visit. The workshops this year, we've serviced and maintained, or we continue to service and maintain over 70 vehicles. Also under the workshop, we've repaired and maintained over 50 kilometers of roads, and we have over 200 kilometers of roads to maintain, and also our busy airstrip, which a lot of you who visited here would have landed on. It's a lot of maintenance, and this is all done through the operations department. One thing that we're really proud of on Lewa is what we've done for the livelihoods of our rangers, rhino monitors, fencers. And this year we've installed solar water heaters at 19 gates and outposts. And last year we installed inverters, so they've all got power. Really is an incredible step for those guys who live out in the bush. Another thing that we're really proud of is we're about to complete a waste management center with the goal to recycle most waste on site. If you come to Lewa, a lot of our floors are actually made of glass. So we crush the glass and we use it either in our foundations or on the top of the floors. But that waste management center, we have to deal with a lot of waste on Lewa, so it's going to be a really big benefactor for us. On the fence side, we continue to monitor and repair over 192 kilometers of boundary and internal fencing. This year alone, we've upgraded 10 kilometers of boundary fencing from 12 strand to predator-proof fencing. This is a big part of human-wildlife conflict as well, because a lot of these fences are on our boundaries where we have agriculture, community agriculture on the other side. So it's really, really important. The Lewa Safari Marathon, a lot of you would have either been here for the marathon or heard about it. It really is a very, very important event. And the last year, or this year being the 25th edition, was really an incredible event. I know every year we say it's the best one, but I think we could say that this year was the best one. We had over 1,400 runners. Over the years, we've raised $9 million. And so that's over the last 25 years, and that goes into programs, which John will talk about in a minute, such as water projects, healthcare, and education. But the other thing it does is it creates such awareness. If any of us go anywhere in Kenya, whether it's the coast, Western Kenya, wherever it may be, and we say we're from Lewa, people will say, oh, the marathon. So Lewa is associated with the marathon, which is really, really, really important. You know, it's on radio, it's on TV. We also hosted 3 key events in 2025. They really were high-profile events. And we were very proud to hold the African Rangers Congress, which is held every 4 years. obviously in Africa. This is the third edition, and Lewa was chosen. We're very privileged. We had over 150 participants from 21 countries. We made incredible friends. We learned so much, and I personally cannot reiterate how important it is for like-minded people to get together. It was a very special 3 days, and it culminated, and we're very proud of Kapuna Lepale. One of our oldest rangers here was recognized as the best field ranger in Africa. So that was a special night seeing him get his award. We then had the Wildlife Ranger Challenge, which is run all over Africa, but Lewa is a regional hub. So we had 25 regional teams running, the men with 22 kilos on their backs and the women with 10 kilos on their backs. To see it, it's really impressive what these guys do. They 4 of them, they all have to finish together. If one doesn't finish, then the team is disqualified. Lewa came third in the region, and the finish really was a very special occasion to see everybody coming together and all those teams finishing. We then had the Earth Ranger Users Conference for Eastern Africa. We had 150 delegates. That was straight after the African Rangers Congress. Our relationship with Earth Ranger, as I said, is very strong. It goes back to 2015 when it was initiated on Lewa. And now Earth Ranger is global. It's in over 100 countries. So we again feel very privileged to be part of Earth Ranger.
Thank you, Adrian. It's incredible to hear all the things that you've been able to achieve in your various departments. I'm curious, you had some really wonderful milestones, but is there anything stressing you? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, nothing's perfect. If I sat here and said everything was absolutely fine, I'd be telling a lie. Yeah, we're probably victims of our own success in that wildlife numbers are rising, and elephant numbers are rising. Human-wildlife conflict, especially elephant-wildlife conflict, is an issue. We do our best. Our team, our human-wildlife team is incredible. Technology, Earth Ranger really helps us. And also corridors, and I really believe that is probably the future, is having more and more corridors, because these animals need to move. They can't just be held in one place. We see that on Lewa. If they're just held here, they are a bit destructive. They need to move. And having these corridors, and I think it's going to be the same throughout Kenya, not only here, it's so important that they move. They're used to moving between north and south, and we have to continue to enable them to do that.
Thank you, Adrian. You're right. Landscape connectivity is the future of conservation. And I'd like to remind our audience that you can ask questions throughout this webinar. Drop your questions in the Q&A or in the chat box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of this webinar. Now that we've had the incredible things happening within Lewa, we would like to hear from our Chief of Programs and Partnerships on what is happening outside of Lewa through the programs that he leads. John, over to you.
Thank you, Joy, and also thank you, Adrian, for that elaborate presentation on our successes and the work that we have done inside the fence. And ladies and gentlemen that have joined us today, as we continue to get more updates, I would like to say that even as we celebrate our 30 years, one of the things that we hold most close to us is our move with the communities, because since inception, Lewa identified the importance of having communities being part and parcel of conservation, and hence the reason why we've been able to have the coexistence that Adrian has just explained. And as we have widely shared in terms of Lewa's mantra, of being a catalyst for conservation. What I'm about to share to you, ladies and gentlemen, also comes out very clearly that beyond being the catalyst for conservation, and out of your support and you continuously giving us the support and encouragement, the 30 years, we can say, when we look back, we are also a catalog of transformation and development programs that I'm about to share. In the region we are in, water is very critical, and as Adrian said, having wildlife, having our habitat, and also having our communities coexisting, it is important to be able to work through and ensure that this critical resource is well maintained and well managed. And one of the areas that we have over the years engaged in is ensuring that communities speak to each other, and also the organizations and agencies that manage water resources are speaking to each other. And this is an area that we have actually involved ourselves as Lewa for very many years. And out of that, we have our rivers flowing, our water sources very well conserved. And this has made us to have at least a peaceful coexistence within our region. And when we talk about the Lewa region, is a region that is water scarce. So issues and investment in water is taken very seriously. And hence the reason why with that conservation work going on, we have culturalized the whole aspect of reminding everyone that we have a collective responsibility to conserve and take care of our water sources, and reminding everybody to know that we all live downstream, and in anything we do, we should ensure that we are critically understanding that water is there for everyone. So having been able to achieve that coexistence of water managers, communities, and agencies, we've been able to have a foundation to invest in programs that deliver clean water to the communities. Over the years, we've managed to invest to about 18 water projects that delivers water to about 50,000 people. And this has really helped us convey clean water to our communities, schools, and the villages that are around the conservation area. And this is one way that people see the importance of wildlife conservation, and also enhances security and enhances the coexistence. And this has been quite wide investment, and we continue to do that. And this year, as we celebrate 30 years, one of the major highlights that we can celebrate is that beyond having pipework and gravity-fed systems of projects, we have gone further into investment in water storage. And hence the reason why, again, we came together, and we want to thank everyone that came through for us to support. We've been able to build a big dam that is actually storing runoff from the rains, which we call Soboiga Dam. This is in our southern boundary of Lewa. And as we speak, we are very happy because the rains that we've just experienced have actually been harvested. And this is not a permanent river. This is the runoffs that comes from the rain, which is one of the big message within the region that even when it rains, we can store water. And this dam is going to be a transformation within the area, because its storage is about 150 million liters. And to break that down, the 150 million liters is about 25 standard Olympic state swimming pools put together. That's the massive water that we've been able to harvest from the rivers when it rained in the drainages, and that will go down into transforming about 2,500 acres of land that is arable but doesn't have water connection. So, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the investment on water, we've been able to achieve that massive development, and we hope even in the future we will continue to maintain the systems that we have and build more dams, hopefully, or water ponds as we harvest the water that we get from the rains. But beyond water, the other program that we are celebrating is that we have looked at, now people have been connected to clean water. The value addition to this clean water, it was to engage with the communities to start having proper utilization of this water. And this is very well anchored in our sustainable agriculture program. We have 80 to about 90% of our neighbors around the conservation area doing farming, and it is very pivotal for us to ensure that people have food production, they are food secure, and at the same time, they are doing proper food production. And this is what we have done through our Sustainable Agriculture Program. We have about 8,880 farmers that have been supported through training and capacity building and come from the various farmer groups that have been formed. This has been a cumulative effort whereby we have worked with various agencies, our community development teams, and communities are responding into what we are doing as agriculture that is based on climate smart technologies and proper utilization of water. And also to make that this empowerment continues, we have formed farmer leads who host the demonstration farms that other members of communities can be able to come there and learn from them. And we are continuously open to the various partners who can come and join us to ensuring that we achieve the Sustainable Agriculture Program as we continue to produce enough food for the communities, and also people continue to have enough incomes from sustainable agriculture. Beyond sustainable agriculture, when we are focusing to the young generation, we also have a vast and a very well developed program in our Lewa education program, which we have focused in four main areas. One is infrastructure development, because we believe by having proper infrastructure, the young generation that are coming to the schools will be able to have a good environment for learning. We also have our bursary program that has been running for the very many years of existence of Lewa, and also the digitalization of education in these schools and the conservation education. But just to break down is that within these schools that we are supporting, there are 29 schools, all government schools, and out of the 29, 19 are primary schools. This is the first level of education whereby we have the young children from the communities are able to attend to these schools and are able to get proper learning. And it accounts to about 9,000 school-going children that are happy going to these schools because they have been developed. Within our bursary program, which is very cumulative, we are now at about 8,000 children that have been able to get bursaries all through to their learning, and we continue to do that. And further to that, again, partnering with government, we are digitalizing this learning, which is part and parcel of what the government is requesting from the various supporters of education. But to ensure also the environmental understanding within this young generation continues, we have our conservation education program that brings in and gives a chance to the school-going children to come and spend a night in Lewa, go through various steps of conservation, and also have a chance to see wildlife and well-managed habitat that Adrian was able to explain within Lewa. And that has caused a good relationship with our communities and also with our young generation. And the capacity building continues because we believe to manage these schools, we also have the administrators, the parents associations have also been involved in training and capacity building so that they are able to manage their schools for sustainability and future expanding of these schools. This year, we are now refocusing ourselves in how we can be able to make bursaries able to be accessed by very many more kids. And we are now reorganizing our bursary program to remodel it so that it can be able to be anchored in a new curriculum that we have. And very soon we'll be announcing the direction of travel in terms of how we'll be able to have a new remodeled bursary program that will be able to meet so many more kids within our schools, and also as we also capture in the new curriculum that has been developed by the government. So ladies and gentlemen, the education program has actually achieved quite a lot, but out of it, we have also increasingly seen the young generation having a multiplication in terms of numbers within our communities. And also in line with that, we are also doing a lot of grassroots consultation with the young generation that has finished school. And we are soon developing a youth program that will also be able to give a chance to the young generation that has finished schooling to see how they can be able to be part and parcel of conservation and also do their own economic activities. And that's a new program that we are developing. Changing gears beyond the schools, we have a robust women micro enterprise program. And where we come from in terms of our cultures and all that, since the inception of Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, women, the rural women within our societies play a very big role in matters to do with conservation, utilization of the natural resources. And in 2003, it was well thought that it was important also to empower these women and ensure that women are also getting an opportunity to participate in development and also to tap their potential in enterprise. And hence, the reason why the program was established to actually achieve three things. One was to train women and expose women to understanding micro-enterprise and doing business. And also we set up a fund, a revolving fund, that women will be able to borrow soft loans or rather capital to do their startups and also to increase their economic activities. And over the years, we are proud that this program has actually caused a lot of transformation within these communities. Over $881,550 have actually revolved within these women that has around 1,800 that borrow money, pay back, come and borrow again, and do a lot of economic activities. And that has improved the incomes within the society. Over 1,000 businesses have actually been established that continues to help communities to run through in terms of work. Because of time, we'll be able to move very quickly. To ensure that all this works, you cannot have a generation or rather a society that is not healthy. So we also have partnered with governments to run healthcare clinics. These are government-led, but as Lewa and also out of your support, we've been able to manage 4 clinics together with government and 1 in Lewa. And every year we have over 35,000 patients all over from these communities that are able to access basic healthcare from these clinics. There's a lot of training and also looking at diseases, that how we can manage them. We run an ambulance that enables to do evacuation when we have critical situations within our communities and around. And this has made the community to remain very well secure in terms of healthcare, because health is our wealth. Further afield, because of these successes, we've also focused ourselves in managing our forests, and these are huge areas that are dispersal areas for our wildlife and also our water sources. And Lewa, again, partnering with various community associations and government agencies, we are part and parcel of reclaiming and rebuilding deforestation of 4 main forests in our southern boundary, in the central area, and also in our north eastern boundary. We have forests there that accounts to almost 53,000 hectares of forest. And through them, we have managed to have programs that help to do enrichment planting of about 600,000 seedlings every year. By so doing, that allows our springs to continue to give us water and also secure areas for our wildlife to get areas of dispersal and use. And ladies and gentlemen, because of these successes in terms of even forest management, keeping communities also part of this conservation, this year again, we celebrate because of the work that has been done up in Mount Kenya, whereby again, Lewa being part and parcel of this partnership came together with other organizations, the Meru County government, 2 community forest associations, government agencies, Kenya Wildlife and Kenya Forest Service, and formed the Meru Bongo Rhino Conservation Trust. And this trust is actually anchored as a public-private community partnership, and we are focused into looking at 2 endangered species, the mountain bongo and the black rhino. And luckily, out of consultation and working together, we were able to establish the trust. And February this year, again, with a lot of support from our support base and also partnership with the Rare Species Conservatory Foundation in Florida, we repatriated 17 animals successfully from Florida to Kenya. And it was quite an emotional, successful story for us when we saw these animals stepping back to where they belong and being the guardians of Mount Kenya. We know now that this is a breeding program that has begun, and we hope that as we continue to succeed to do this, we'll rewild the animals and we'll be able to have these iconic antelopes in the forest. And beyond it, we have a phase 2 whereby we hope to very soon, again working with the partners to introduce the black rhino back to Mount Kenya, and conservation is going to continue. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been made possible by your support, everyone, and we want to thank you very much. And we have more successes that we can continue to explain. But as we celebrate 30 years, we have lots and lots that we have been able to achieve. And this is out of proper partnership, support, and everyone believing in one another. And we've been able to change our society and our region, and we continue to update you more. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, John. That has been quite inspiring, and congratulations once more on the Bongo project. I know it is one of the first projects in Kenya to demonstrate private, public, and people partnerships in conservation, and continues to prove our model and catalyst for conservation. Now, I know you've spoken about a lot of successes, but what are some of the challenges keeping you up at night, John?
Thank you, Joy. Of course, successes comes with challenges. Currently, like I have mentioned, in this country, that 6% of the population is now youth. And we have realized that our youth are now empowered. They are yearning to be part and parcel of development and also income generation. And it's something that we are thinking about, especially now with the movement of the Gen Z, who are very well empowered, have an understanding. And we are hoping that the young generation will also borrow from the parents, whereby we can have a passion for our conservation. And we can also give back to the society through conserving and doing income generating programs. So we have an issue there. We have a discussion to see how we engage the young generation who are in millions and millions within our society. So that's a challenge that keeps me awake to see how we bring them on board.
I am glad to hear that people my age and younger are keeping you up at night, and they are the future and stewards, the future stewards of conservation. Sorry. And now I know you've all been yearning to hear from our CEO, Mike Watson. But before he does, I'd like to remind you to put your questions in the chat box or in the Q&A section on the bottom of your screen, and we will address those at the tail end of this webinar. Now, over to you, Mike. Lewa is celebrating 30 years. What does that mean for us? And what next? What's the future? What after 30 years?
Thank you very much, Joy, and thank you to Adrian and also to John for an excellent brief on Lewa's activities over the last 12 months and more. Luckily enough, you won't have to hear from me for too long because Adrian and John have been able to cover a significant amount of the activities that the organization has been engaged in over the last, as I say, the last 12 months or so, and updated you accordingly. So thank you both. You know, the organization really is, as its strapline says, a catalyst for conservation. Always has been and always will be. And I've been extremely privileged to work with a group of 340 Kenyans in this organization for the last 15 years, an organization run by Kenyans for Kenyans in this landscape. And we're tremendously proud of what we've achieved. It's difficult to capture in a very brief time that we have to highlight some of the key takeaways, the key milestones that we've achieved over the last 30 years. But some that come to mind are as follows. One of the most foundational changes that we managed to effect in this organization occurred over the space of about 4 years between 2008 and 2011 and 12, when the Craig family, the founders of Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, and then the owners of the land on which the Conservancy had been established, decided that in order to ensure the longevity and the perpetuity of the organization forever, that they would sell their land to Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, the organization. So as it stands right now, Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, the institution, owns the majority of the land within the fenced area of Lewa, thanks to a first of its kind in Kenya, probably a first of its kind in Africa. And we were privileged to be part of that partnership along with the Craig family and also a number of other organizations, not least of all the Nature Conservancy, and a lot of extremely generous donors who enabled us to put under permanent conservation over 38,000 acres worth of land. So an extraordinary opportunity for Lewa's landholding in Kenya to be legally secured for wildlife and community benefit forever. And as Joy said at the beginning of this webinar, Lewa Milele, which is the land deal, the name of the land deal, Milele in Swahili means forever, so Lewa forever. Another transformational activity, transformational concept that Lewa was right at the heart of was the establishment of the Community Conservancy movement in Kenya. 30 years ago, there were a handful of conservancies in this country, the majority of them private, and wildlife had little future in community areas. It had little benefit to communities, and communities saw no real relevance to wildlife. The Community Conservancy model that was born out of the vision of a number of people, not least of all Ian Craig and the previous Speaker of the House of the Kenya National Assembly, Francis Ole Kaparu, and many other people managed to establish an extraordinary concept and persuade communities that the Community Conservancy model, i.e. communities committing their land in an integrated land management fashion to conservation, would enable communities to benefit. 30 years ago, as I say, we had hardly any conservancies in this country. Today, we have well over 200 registered conservancies, both private and community. More land under community conservation and private conservation than is under national parks and reserves in this country. And that's an extraordinary testament to the people that were involved in this, both under the umbrella of the Northern Rangelands Trust, but also other community conservancy movements in Kenya, which the Kenya government has embraced fully and enabled that concept to thrive in this country. And it is certainly second to none in Africa. Rhino. Adrian talked about rhino. A figure for those of you historians. Over the space of about 12 years in the late 60s and 70s, Kenya's rhino population went from 20,000 to a few hundred. Lewa has been instrumental in playing a role in partnership with government to regrow that population. And we're now at well over 1,000 black rhino, I think, Adrian, in this country. And Lewa, between Lewa and Barana Conservancy to our west, which is one contiguous landscape now of 93,000 acres, we've got well over 280 rhino. So we've built a population from a handful that was introduced over 30 years ago to well over 280. And over the last 30 years, we've translocated numerous animals out of Lewa to repopulate other parts of Kenya and establish other rhino habitat areas within Kenya. I think we've moved 73 animals out of Lewa over the last 30 years. So that's an extraordinary achievement. We've actually still got too many rhino on Lewa, and we still need to move many out of Lewa to enable us to continue to grow our rhino population. As an institution, Lewa was privileged to be inscribed as part of the Mount Kenya World Heritage Site off the back of the establishment of the Elephant Corridor, which runs south from Lewa up onto Mount Kenya, as well as being a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We are also a UNESCO Registered Man and Biosphere Reserve. And relatively recently, we were designated as a key biodiversity area in Kenya. So an extraordinary testament to the organization to have those accolades. Clearly, the journey that we've been on has not been without its challenges, not least of all poaching. Many of you will have heard about the poaching crisis that was established, or should I say that was experienced in Kenya and throughout Africa. Something that we have managed to combat, both as Lewa but also as a country. But it's never far away. Climate change and climate-induced droughts remain a major challenge, and globally significant events such as COVID-19 all have played a part in influencing how this organization has managed to change itself and to adapt and to prove its effectiveness. From a future vision perspective, the organization, as far as I'm concerned, has always punched way above its weight. We have a huge amount of impact outside of our boundaries, and we will continue to do so and continue to shape the future of conservation in this country. John talked a little bit about the reintroduction of Mountain Bongo onto Mount Kenya. It was such an exciting event that occurred late February this year when the arrival of 17 bongo occurred in Jomo Kenyatta Airport. Those animals are thriving now in a breeding facility on Mount Kenya, and we're looking to bring in another 8 to 10 animals early next year, with an expectation over the next few years we'll be adding to that population. But it's not just about the bongo, and it's also not just about the black rhino that we expect to work with Kenya Wildlife Service to introduce onto Mount Kenya. It's a broader intent to become more intentionally involved in supporting the management of that large, over 2,000 square kilometer protected area, national park and national reserve to our south, that is Mount Kenya. So more to do as an organization. More excitement, more impact, and more work for us all to do. It just remains for me to say thank you to you all, for those of you that have joined us, those supporters of Lewa's. We would not be where we are today if it was not for the people that have supported us unequivocally over such a long time and hugely generously. We say thank you so much, and please remain with us for the next 30 years. So thank you. And I believe it's now time for some questions, Joy.
Thank you. Yes, now we are going to open it up for questions. We are going to start with the ones that had been pre-submitted, and we'll work our way through the ones entered in the chat today. I'll go straight to the first question, which is for you. What is the biggest goal Lewa is striving towards at the moment? Not just a recurring or brand new endeavor, but one actively making progress that you hope to accomplish in the next year, and another goal that you hope to accomplish in the next 5 years.
Thank you. So this is linked to what I've just said in my closing remarks. This is very much linked to Mount Kenya. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Over the next year, as I say, we're expecting to bring in more bongo from Florida. We hope to bring 10 in Q1 next year. We're expecting calves from the females that came in February. As we look to grow that population within that breeding sanctuary as rapidly as possible, so that we can then start to release those bongo into the broader Mount Kenya landscape. Over the next 5 years, I would hope that within the next 5 years, in partnership with Kenya Wildlife Service, we will have been able to reintroduce black rhino onto Mount Kenya. They were there 50 years ago, so there's every reason why they should be there into the future. And as I was saying, a more broad intent to become more heavily involved and more intentionally involved in supporting the management of the national park and the national forest reserves in the 2,000 square kilometer landscape, which is Mount Kenya to our south.
All right, and we have another one on fundraising too, actually. So I'm going to join them into one question. Thank you, Sonia, for asking. She asks, how are you doing on the fundraising front? And there's a conjoined question that is, how is Lewa preparing for a rapidly changing global funding ecosystem that is higher competition, less funding, and increasingly politicized aid and development? How are we doing?
Well, I mean, without wishing to sound facetious, we never do well enough with fundraising. Lewa as an organization always has an appetite to raise more money and spend more money and have more impact. That's just a fact of this sort of organization that we are. We don't believe that we have arrived and we're consolidating. We always want to do more, feel we have an opportunity and an imperative to do more. But certainly we have tried to drive a more strategic approach to our fundraising, a more coordinated approach, global approach to our fundraising. And we're seeing the benefits of that strategy. So I would say that we're on the right track, whilst it's a tremendously challenging environment, as you say, as a result of the competition, which has been brought about by the change in geopolitical circumstances globally. We'll come on to that in a little bit more detail later, maybe in the context of how funding has impacted Northern Rangers Trust, as well as a result of government shutdown or US government shutdown. So it's a tremendously competitive environment for us, smaller amounts of money that more organizations are focused on. But Lewa has a compelling story. Many of our donors have supported us for decades, and continue to do so, which we're tremendously grateful for. But we need to start thinking out of the box, and we are starting to look at other avenues for raising financial capital linked to natural capital, nature and/or carbon-related bonds, etc., all of which need to come into play. We're also heavily reliant upon tourism. We generate substantial revenue from our 5 lodges here on Lewa, who do a tremendous job of welcoming 18,000 guests, or should I say, having 18,000 beds filled within a year, to generate significant revenue for the Conservancy. So we say a huge thank you to those lodges and also to the tourists that do us the honor of visiting us. We hope that they will continue to do so and continue to support the organization by virtue of the Conservancy fees that people pay when they come here to visit us.
Thank you, Mike. And Amanda, that I believe answers your question as well. She had asked, how is tourism doing? And have you seen increased numbers since the pandemic? And now I'll switch the gears on to John. John, there's a question here from Joe Whitehouse. How are you measuring impact and what are your research endpoints?
Thank you, Joy. As we mentioned, in all these programs, before we implement, we have an inbuilt monitoring and evaluation focus, so that at least we can see the investment, the value of investment, and also meeting the needs of the people. For example, like in the Women Microenterprise, we are focusing on how have we changed the incomes of these women and rural women. So to answer the question is that every program, every project has an inbuilt monitoring and evaluation plan that we usually utilize to measure our investment.
Thank you, John, for being brief and concise. Another question here from an anonymous person is, assuming all goes well with the introduced bongo, what is the carrying capacity of the bongo population up in Mount Kenya? And what time do you foresee reaching that goal?
Thank you, Joy. The facility that we have currently for breeding can host around 200. Hence the reason why Mike mentioned before, we have both calves coming in, we can continue to add more animals. But as again, Mike said, it's about 2,000 hectares of the forest, square kilometers, sorry. We can host as many as possible, and we want to see if we can reach back to the numbers we used to have in the 70s. But the good point is that Kenya Wildlife Service, out of their plan that we are using in terms of bongo recovery plan, we have a number, I guess, 700 in the wild by 2050. So that is something that we are aiming at, but hoping everything runs well.
Thank you. And still with you, John, I have another question from Simon. He says you have invested deeply in the community, and his question is around empowerment that has led to the second generation of community change makers who would love to contribute to the next conservation and community development initiatives. He asks, what are the available structures and frameworks that are ensuring this is possible? Because there are many of them who are established and are ready to give back now.
Thank you, Joy. And I would like him to reach out to us actually in the first opportunity we have in the new year, when we will be talking about the youth program. This is the kind of the ideas we want to entrench in the program. And we also want to have volunteers who can come and help us shape up, because this youth program will be the next thing for our generation.
All right, and now switching gears to Adrian. Adrian, I see there's a lot of people who love the dogs. So there's a few questions on the canine unit. One asks, how is the canine unit doing? And there's a second one, hang on. The questions are really coming in quickly. And also an anonymous person asks, is the anti-poaching canine unit still being utilized? How many dogs do you have? And is the bloodhound breed still being utilized?
Thank you, Joy. Yes, the canine unit is very much still going. We have two dogs at present, two girls, and one is a full bloodhound, and one is I think 75% bloodhound and 25% Doberman. They've been bred in South Africa. We hope to get another dog this coming year, because one of our present dogs will be starting to retire. But the canine unit is very, very much at the forefront of what we do security-wise. Just today, they were called out for a robbery and used to obviously to follow scent. But yeah, very popular amongst guests as well. And yeah, we're very proud of our dogs.
All right, thank you. And another person asks, how many elephants are utilizing the corridors each year, that is?
It's a good question. You know, most of our elephant on Lewa will be moving north or south, to be honest, probably more north, so coming on and going back north, but a lot will go up into the mountain as well. I would say anywhere between 350, 400, 500. We certainly have on Lewa up to one time, we could have up to 450, 500. And they move, and we're learning so much. One thing I forgot to say earlier was collaring. I know it's not popular with some people, but we have learned so much from collaring. Just recently, we have seen elephant which have been on Lewa probably for the last 6 months. With this little rain we've had, have now moved nearly 100 kilometers north of us. All about 3 or 4 of them all holding in the same area. And it's obviously something they do. That is what they do every year. When it rains, they move and they go from place to place. And that's why corridors are so important. And securing corridors are so important. You cannot hold elephant in one place. They have to move.
Thank you, Adrian. And unfortunately, we are out of time. So for those whose questions we've not been able to answer here live, we will definitely reach out to you on email throughout next week so that we make sure all your questions have been addressed. One thing I would like to mention before we conclude is that we are running our 30-year anniversary gift match challenge, which is a $200,000 gift match challenge. So for every gift you give to Lewa from now till the end of December will be doubled all the way to $200,000 or 150 pounds. And this will raise money for all the wonderful programs you've heard about today, from women microenterprise to education, security, and also core conservation of key species, from the big ones like the elephants to the small ones like the pancake tortoise. You can donate immediately by scanning the QR code on your screen and also following the link on your chat. So unfortunately, that is all the time we had today. Thank you to you, Mike, John, Adrian, for making time out of your evening to be with us today. It is 9 p.m. Kenyan time. And thank you to you, our audience, for also being with us and supporting Lewa. I know most of you have engaged with Lewa in different ways, visited Lewa, and also donated to Lewa. So thank you for working with us for 30 years. And here is to the next 30 years as well. As Mike mentioned, We hope that you continue to walk this journey with us, but we are truly grateful for your partnership. And now we would like to leave you with a short video of Lewa's 30-year journey. I hope you do have a good rest of your morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Founders such as Anna Mertz, their vision was always much greater than just rhino conservation. And here we are 30 years hence with a thriving rhino population and an organization that has the ability to start to repopulate other areas of Kenya with rhino, which is a huge achievement.
Lewa is known for rhino breeding and sharing with the conservancies that are neighboring us, and actually even national parks owned by the government. We've done over 50 translocations to other conservancies from Lewa.
Earlier this year, in 2025, was the repatriation of mountain bongo from Florida in the US. 17 animals arrived in Kenya and trucked up to a breeding site that we had developed with partners on the northern slopes of Mount Kenya. And they've been successfully reintroduced into that breeding site.
We are so proud that Lewa has led the way in this region in terms of wildlife conservation. Bands, varieties, we are actually recognized for one of the biggest diversity of bands in Kenya, over 490 species found on Lewa.
I have been here in Lewa for the past 29 years. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. All over Africa, we had a big challenge of rhino poaching, and that is when it was like a wake-up call. We were asked to improve in technology. In our boundaries, we also put trap cameras. We have drones that has a capability of even flying at night.
The radios which our rangers they are carrying, they are digital radios which you can track them or you can see them. These animals which have been collared, we can track them using the screens on the ops room.
Technology has been quite a critical tool in enabling us manage our fleet. And then in terms of fencing, technology has been really helpful in terms of enabling us monitor performance over time.
Lewa, having defined itself very clearly as a catalyst for conservation, is really important to me, and also involving the community, because there is no way that you can do conservation without involving the community.
We have quite a number of programs and projects. We have so far done 18 water projects to the community surrounding this conservancy. The second program that we have is a sustainable agriculture program and livestock production to empower the people around this conservancy. The other program that we do is Women Micro Enterprise, building the capacity for the women to do businesses through mentorship, through training.
Wakatuonyesha jinsi tunaweza fanya biashara, jinsi tunaweza save.
So far we have 4 clinics that are constructed, supported by Lewa.
Lewa's education program started in one school. Now we have grown to 28 schools. We have been able to facilitate construction of schools and provision of physical infrastructure, from classrooms to playfields, boreholes. We have a digital literacy program. Through this program, we have equipped schools with interactive smart boards and other hardware. So learners within our schools are able to navigate technology early enough.
It's just incredible to see
how wildlife is thriving on Lewa. And that spills over to wildlife experience for tourism. We've got 5 amazing lodges on Lewa. 30 years of Lewa's existence has been 30 years of transformation.
There's much more to be done, much more that Lewa wants to achieve and is well placed and well positioned to achieve. So please continue on the journey with us for the next 30 years.
To our supporters and partners, I must thank you for all the work you do for us, for all the support you give us, be it financial or in kind. It takes a special group of people to support organizations like ours, which are catalyzing conservation in Kenya, in our part of the world, and we thank you sincerely.